Yeah. Yeah. And I think that was, the very first thing that really caught my attention about all of this was that idea that we're not experiencing anything that's going on, outside of us. And I like what you were saying about, kind of labeling the thoughts. It's so arbitrary how I say, well, this is a positive thought and this is a negative thought. And that kind of got me thinking about, we say that about things that happen in our life too, like you said, all the, been through all these kinds of things and we label like this is a bad thing that happened and like this is a good thing, but like things just happen. And without the brain telling us this is a good thing or a bad thing, I mean, what is it? It's just a thing. What I always just want to share is no matter what someone is going through, no matter what your circumstances are, there is so much freedom and hope and possibility available to all of us. We just don't see it yet. Yeah, so it's just interesting that you bring that up because I think even all of these labels, even diagnoses, which are meant you know for good, to help people understand what they're dealing with and treat it in whatever way possible. But I think it kind of naturally glosses over that moment to moment because in this moment I may still have gastroparesis, but I don't. Right now, sitting here with you, I have no symptoms. I feel perfectly fine. I'm perfectly healthy. There's nothing going on for me right now. About how we talk about things as being so static, but really like they're so dynamic all the time. They're changing in every moment.
Absolutely. Every moment.
Hi, I'm Crystal Saltrelli.
That brain of ours, as soon as it hears the words diagnosis, starts going into 5,000 different things, and it's like you said, we are only going to experience this moment. The mind is going to do its thing to protect us at all costs. It's going to dissect the word diagnosis. It's going to break it up. It was a solid word at one point, and then the mind comes in and separates it into 1,000 puzzle pieces and then starts analyzing each one of those puzzle pieces. And it's like, hold on a second. just it's okay. It's okay that happens because that's a natural thing to happen. That shouldn't be anything for any of us to worry about. That is probably going to happen. You're going to experience the mind dissecting all of the big piece into a puzzle piece. But what if you're not all those thoughts that are happening? Because who you are right now in this very moment right now, as you had said, Crystal, it's like, well, wait a minute. I mean, right now, everything's cool.
Yeah, I love that. What if we're not our thinking, and what if our thinking is not important? I think that was a big piece for me, especially around health and something like a diagnosis. You have all kinds of thinking, well, I should do this and I have to do this, and what if this, and what if this, and it all looks very important. Like I need to pay attention to that because that's my health. That's, my well-being. And I just love what you're saying about, that thinking being really impersonal. It's not us and it's not predictive. And it's, you know, just seeing it as separate, I think can do so much. And like you said, normal, natural, like it's a brain doing what a brain does. And, in the chronic illness sphere, in the world of, people dealing with all these kinds of diagnoses, there's a lot of focus on positive thinking and a lot of people thinking that, in me, I will raise my hand. For a long time, I thought the reason that I was not getting well was because I wasn't thinking the right thoughts. And I had to think better thoughts. So, then my body would function better. And so if I wasn't getting better, I just wasn't thinking good enough thoughts. And I think, exploring just the impersonal nature of thinking and like the idea that it's just a machine, it's just a machine doing what it does and it doesn't matter. I think that takes out that piece of, trying to make better thoughts. A lot of my clients are like, well, I know I just have to think positive. I know I shouldn't be thinking this. I know, yada, yada, yada about their thinking. And I think what you said there is just, that's so perfect. Like that's going to keep happening. It doesn't mean anything. You don't have to do anything with it. And we are separate from it. And I don't know, that seems to make a pretty big difference to me.
There is a wisdom that also, and a clarity that's there with us all the time. That's why somehow we make it through. I mean, it's amazing the resilience and the endurance and the trials that you have been through physically, and yet you're here. You're alive, and you're sharing this understanding with other people. So it's amazing that there's something else, something which I'm going to throw this out there, something invisible. Just, it has our back. It's always there. It's very compassionate, very loving.
Yeah. Yeah. I see that too. I very much believe that. And, even through like every, we've all been through things, right? I don't think you live life and not go through trials and tribulations, but I used to kind of think like I was okay in spite of everything that I'd been through. Like, oh, I've been through all these terrible things, but like, okay, whatever, like I'm okay. But it looks just different to me now. It looks like that's all just been life. And I had a really hard time for a long time. I've had some medical traumas, and I was very hung up on, why do those things happen to me? And, people who don't understand anxiety, like clearly, they've never had anything bad happen to them. And just very in the story of these are the things that happened to me, but I'm okay, despite that. And now, like, even as you're talking about all of that, it's just like, it just feels different because it just feels like that has just been life, taking care of me. Things happened and life has taken care of me, and it has led me here and has enabled me to help other people. And I don't know, I feel like it's not coming out as eloquently as it is in my head, but it's just, it feels different to me than like, oh, I've been through all this stuff and I've survived. Now it's almost like life has held me through just what has occurred. And it doesn't look malicious, or I don't know. There's just so much more like grace and wisdom, I think, in all of it from this perspective. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Made perfect sense to me. Although we're not different from life, there's something that was like hugging us the whole time. You didn't say hugging, but I felt a hug. I felt like something was like, you know what?
Yeah.
You're going to experience some things. Why am I going to experience things? Because you have a mind. You have an incredible, beautiful mind. But part of that mind, there's a part of the brain that's a survival brain. It's been with us for thousands of years. It's there to protect us from all sorts of dangers. That part of our mind and our brain, it's always been there. So I love the way you were talking about positive thinking. And there's a lot of great people out there that talk about positive thinking. But man, what a stressful situation that thing is. Wait a minute. I got to think positive thoughts all the time. Well, who's going to tell that thing up there that it's got to start giving me positive thoughts all the time? Because this one up here is in that protective mode that, hey, Dave, I know you think that you're good at doing things, but I'm going to tell you that you're not good at doing things in order to keep you safe. So the negative thoughts that show up are really strangely compassionate. They're compassionate because they're trying to keep you safe at all costs. That's why now, for some reason, we've come up with this idea that those thoughts are negative. One thought's positive, this thought's negative. It's like, man, wouldn't it be great if we could just get rid of those diagnosis of thoughts? Diagnosis of thoughts. It'd be great to get rid of that altogether and just know that we experience our thinking. I loved also too that what you're pointing to is that out of all the things that we believe are outside affecting our ability to experience life is not the truth. The truth is that everything that we've ever experienced from day one till the day we transcend to the other side, we are experiencing that from within us. Bottom line, we experience our thinking. We experience our life from the inside always. That's mind-blowing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that was, the very first thing that really caught my attention about all of this was that idea that we're not experiencing anything that's going on, outside of us. And I like what you're saying about, kind of labeling the thoughts. It's so arbitrary how I say, well, this is a positive thought and this is a negative thought. And that kind of got me thinking about, we say that about things that happen in our life too, like you said, all the, been through all these kinds of things and we label like this is a bad thing that happened and like this is a good thing, but like things just happen. And without the brain telling us this is a good thing or a bad thing, I mean, what is it? It's just a thing. I read not too long ago that they had discovered dinosaur bones that had like cancer in them, like tumors, like in dinosaur bones. And there was something in that I was just like, that's so interesting because, like those dinosaurs weren't like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have cancer. Like the dinosaurs were not affected by the cancer in the same way that like we would be affected by hearing that we have cancer, most brains, I think. And there was something in that was just so profound to me along these ideas of just like labeling, what our brain does. Our brain labels everything. It's how it tries to make sense. It's a sense maker, right? So it labels, this is a bad thought. This is a good thought. This is a bad situation. This is a good situation. And, until you see what we're talking about, that those are just things the brain makes up. There's not fact to that. There's no substance to that. Of course we would get wrapped up in trying to change those thoughts or those situations. Like it makes so much sense that that's what we do from that perspective. It's just that when we see what you and I are talking about, it just gets so much easier because there's nothing to do, right? And I don't know, that's how it's felt to me. Like it's just gotten so much easier understanding what's really going on.
I think if I'm going to rewind the tape from when you had said that two people on paper had the same exact symptoms, but they experienced the exact same symptoms differently, that was, really eye-opening. And I think that's really powerful too. A moment of awareness that there's so much more to who we are and what we are than what we think we are. We think, and I think it goes back to the beginning of what you're saying, how things are flowing through us all the time, because you didn't just do this, you did this, as if there's emotion to it. And there is emotion to it. So there's a flowing through us. And then the thing up here comes in and says it's solid, static, it doesn't move. And it's like, no, that's not true at all. It's so funny that this thing tells us things that aren't real. And I think that was really an eye-opener for me, was that to be able to observe my thinking, I thought that my thinking was who I was. But then to see my thinking almost lie to me. Well, in a way, it doesn't know what a lie is, but it'll say things that are contradictory to itself so quickly. And it's like to observe our thinking has been such just a mind-blowing experience. So Amy Johnson teaches us how we think, but then it's really up to us. I don't rely on Amy Johnson to teach me about life, but I do appreciate the understanding that she's shared. And now I get to see how my thinking works. And what a great, fascinating roller coaster we're on.
That is the
A
truth.
roller coaster.
It
Wait a minute.
is.
We're back to the wave again?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I have an 8-year-old daughter, and we talk about this understanding. And we were out for a walk recently, and we were talking about thinking. She has a lot thinking around dogs. And so she's, has some fear around dogs in our neighborhood. We have a lot of dogs in our neighborhood. So we're talking about her thinking. And she said, Mommy, it's like if I drew a scary picture and then scared myself with the picture. That's what my thinking is like. And I was like, yes, that's it exactly. Our brains are just drawing a scary picture, and we're looking at it like it's real. And I was just like, kids have so much insight.
She's 8 years old.
Yeah.
Can we get her on the coaching program?
Yeah, it's been, you know what? She's taught me so much looking at her, and just, you were talking a lot about resilience and like the resiliency in kids, how kids bounce back so quickly. And it's been interesting as she gets older to see her taking her thinking more seriously, and, the ways that kind of catches her up sometimes, like this, thing about dogs. And, but yeah, I mean, it was just I was like, that is perfect. That's exactly what it is. We draw a scary picture and scare ourselves with it. And once you see it like that, it's just like, you can't be scared of a picture that you drew, So, yeah.
And I want to call out to all those people watching and listening right now is what we're saying is that, first off, we're extremely reasonable when it comes to coaching, because instead of you paying money to have someone diagnose you and then spend the next 3 decades trying to cope with your diagnosis, try us. Try us, because we're sharing an understanding that you already know. We're just reminding you. We're reminding you when you were 8 years old. And the beauty about this understanding is that we're able to share this with you, and hopefully you share it with others. That's the beauty in all of this. Instead of you doing traditional coaching or therapy, it's not really coaching, it's therapy, and then having to cope with it for the rest of your life. This way, it's like, it's a training, it's a teaching, it's a teacher teaching you, and then you go on and you become the teacher. So it's a beautiful, beautiful understanding that's filled with compassion, filled with the proof that you are truly an amazing human being. Will you suffer? I don't know. Will you experience your thinking? Yes, absolutely. Will some of them be good? Yes, absolutely. Will some of them be bad? If we're going to label things good or bad, then yeah, some will be good and some will be not so good. But that doesn't take away from who you are innately, who you are before all this thinking shows up. Your daughter realized in a quick moment, in that brief moment, that she said, oh, it's like drawing a picture of a scary dog, but that's not the truth. So if an 8-year-old can grab onto it, then probably a 58-year-old could grab onto it, or a 98-year-old could grab onto it. So it's such an incredible understanding. And would you like to share anything else about this understanding for people?
Oh my goodness. I feel like we covered so much. I think, truly what I always just want to share is no matter what someone is going through, no matter what your circumstances are, there is so much freedom and hope and possibility available to all of us. We just don't see it yet. And I mean, that's what you and I do, right? we help people, direct people toward what is already there, what is already available all the time. But I'm thrilled that we got to have this conversation. I think this was absolutely wonderful.
Me too. And how can people reach out and connect with you? Because I will make sure that all the links are in the description below.
Yeah, great. So crystalsaltrelli.com has pretty much links out to all of my stuff. So that's a good centralized place to go. And contact information, everything's right there. So pretty easy.
Crystal, thank you so much for being here. Truly appreciate you. Grateful for what you're sharing with everyone. Grateful for your journey. That's amazing. And where you started and ended and stopped and began and moved and changed and shifted and where you are right now. Incredible. Love it. So, but thank you so much for being here on the Space Between podcast. And I truly appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Crystal. Talk to you soon. See you at school.
Bye, Dave.
Bye. Thank you for watching or listening to the Space Between podcast. I'm your host, Dave Fry. Stay awesome and know that we are so much more than our temporary thoughts. Life's energy is moving us forward, not our thinking. When the thoughts settle down, there's a space between, filled with everything you need. You are the awareness of wisdom, the radiance of love, the clarity of creativity, and you only ever experience your thinking.